Started with a letter taped to my front door. Not a regular letter. A white envelope with big, red, angry letters that screamed, "Notice of violation." My stomach dropped before I even opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper that read, "Your fence violates HOA height regulations. You are fined $2,500. Failure to comply within 14 days will result in further action." I stared at my fence, the same fence I built with my dad 5 years ago. 4 feet tall, weathered solid perfect. A little uneven maybe, but strong. Just like the man who helped me build it. And now they wanted it gone. I called the HOA office immediately. "Yeah, this is Mike Reynolds from Maplewood Lane," I said, trying to stay calm. "I just got a fine notice for my fence, but it's been here since I moved in." The woman cut me off mid-sentence. "You'll need to submit a modification request if you wish to keep it, sir." "A modification request? It's been approved for years. Sir, the new regulations went into effect last month. You'll need to comply." I could hear her smirk through the phone. "Or what?" I said. "Further action," she replied coldly. Then hung up. That night I drove around the neighborhood, fence after fence, taller, newer, uglier than mine. No fines on their doors, just mine. I knew why. The HOA president, Richard Dalton, never liked me. Said my truck was too loud, my dog too big, my bonfire pit unsafe. I was the one guy who didn't kiss his ring, didn't show up to the meetings, didn't play by his petty little rules. So he came for me. The next morning I marched into the HOA office, a glass building that looked more like a bank than a neighborhood office. Dalton was there behind his polished desk wearing his smug little grin. "Mike," he said, pretending to be friendly. "Got your notice, huh?" "Yeah," I said, holding it up. "Care to explain why I'm the only one being fined for a fence half the neighborhood has?" He leaned back in his chair, lacing his fingers together. "Because, Mike, you're the only one who thinks the rules don't apply to him." I laughed, sharp and bitter. "You mean the rules you make up whenever you feel like it?" His smile vanished. "You've got 14 days, Reynolds. Tear it down or pay up." I left before I said something I'd regret. When I got home, I stood in the yard staring at that fence. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from rage. My dad used to tell me, "Son, when someone tries to push you just to see if you'll fall, push back harder." I took a deep breath, clenched my jaw, and whispered, "All right, Dad, let's push back." That night, under the porch light, I made a decision that would change everything. I didn't tear my fence down. I rebuilt it, stronger. The next Saturday, I went to the hardware store and bought new cedar planks, fresh paint and steel posts. By sunset, it stood tall, proud, and beautiful, the kind of fence that dared anyone to challenge it. Right in the center, I screwed in a shiny little sign that read, "Private property, do not trespass." It wasn't just a fence anymore. It was a message. By Monday morning, there was another envelope taped to my door. Same red stamp, same smug tone. But this time, the fine had doubled. $3,000. I laughed. A bitter, tired kind of laugh, the kind that says, "I see what you're doing, and I'm done playing." Later that day, while heading out for groceries, I saw something new. At the end of our street, a construction crew was installing a massive black iron gate, 12 feet tall, polished, with a keypad and security cameras. A brand new HOA gate. They said it was for community safety, but everyone knew the truth. It was Dalton's latest power play, his monument. His way of saying, "I control everything that comes in and out of here." That's when it hit me, an idea. Dangerous, crazy, and perfect. That evening, I started talking to my neighbors. People I'd waved to for years but never really talked to. Turns out I wasn't the only one Dalton had gone after. Mrs. Jenkins, fined for her pink mailbox. The Parkers, fined for leaving their Christmas lights up too long. And George, fined for flying the American flag too close to the sidewalk. They all had stories. Same man, same arrogance, same fake smile. What if we didn't take it anymore? I asked. They looked at me wide-eyed. "You mean fight back?" "Exactly." By Friday night, I had 10 people with me. 10 tired, angry homeowners who'd had enough. We met at 2 a.m. down by that brand new gate. The air was cold and still. The only light came from a flickering street lamp. Dalton's pride and joy gleamed in the dark, tall, heavy, smug. I backed my old Chevy truck up, hooked a steel chain around the gate's base, and looked at the others. "You sure about this?" George whispered. I grinned. I've never been more sure of anything. I hit the gas. The chain went tight. The bolts screeched, and then crash! The gate ripped out of the ground. Sparks flying, metal twisting, alarms wailing into the night. For a few seconds, no one breathed. Then, one by one, we started laughing. Laughing like kids who'd just pulled off the impossible. By sunrise, Dalton was standing there in his robe, red-faced, screaming at the cops. They questioned everyone, but nobody said a word. I was asleep, I told them, calm as ever. You got proof I wasn't. They didn't. And the best part? The insurance company refused to pay for the damage, said it was negligence. The HOA had to cover the entire cost themselves. For the first time, Dalton didn't look like a king. He looked small. And he looked scared. But for me, that was only the beginnings. A month passed after the gate incident. The neighborhood was quiet. Too quiet. No new letters. No warnings. Just the uneasy calm that comes right before a storm. Then one day, a notice showed up in everyone's mailbox. This time, not from Dalton, but from the HOA board itself. Emergency community meeting, attendance mandatory. Oh, I knew what this was, and I was ready. That evening, I walked into the clubhouse early. The room was packed, neighbors shoulder to shoulder, whispering, tired of the nonsense. At the front stood Dalton, red-faced, clutching a microphone like he was about to deliver the State of the Union. He cleared his throat. "We've experienced acts of vandalism and disrespect," he began, glaring straight at me. "This community is falling apart because some people think they're above the rules." I smiled. "You mean people who are tired of your rules?" Gasps filled the room. Dalton's jaw clenched. "You think this is funny, Reynolds?" "Funny?" I said, stepping forward. "No. What's funny is that you fine a widow for painting her. Mailbox pink, but spend our money on a $20,000 gate no one asked for." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. People started nodding. "And that fence you wanted me to tear down?" I said. "My dad and I built that. He passed away a year later. You wanted me to destroy the one thing that still reminds me of him? All because it didn't fit your aesthetic." Dalton tried to interrupt, but Mrs. Jenkins, tiny, soft-spoken Mrs. Jenkins, stood up. "He's right," she said firmly. "You fined me for flowers that were too bright. You fined George for his flag. We've all had enough, Richard." The room erupted. Voices rose, one after another. "Yeah, he's been doing this for years. I paid hundreds in fines for nothing." Dalton shouted over them, but the noise drowned him out. The crowd had found its voice, and it was loud. Someone shouted, "Let's vote him out!" And that was it. Hands shot up, one after another. It wasn't even close. Dalton was out. The HOA board dissolved. When the vote ended, Dalton just stood there, small, pale, defeated. The same man who'd once acted like he owned the whole street. Couldn't even look anyone in the eye. As people left the room, neighbors stopped by to shake my hand. "You didn't just tear down that gate," Mike once said. "You tore down his control." Outside, I walked home in silence. The night air felt lighter, freer. I stopped by my fence, the same one that started it all. It stood tall, proud, unbroken. I placed my hand on it and whispered, "We did it, Dad." You see, this story isn't just about a fence. It's about standing up. When someone tries to take what's yours just to prove they can. So here's the truth. Sometimes doing what's right means breaking what's wrong. And when someone builds a gate to control you, don't be afraid to tear it down.